Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello, it's Gemma. And this is episode 286 of the new series of the Cognitive podcast. And this one's called Smokin', which is a very 1980s way of saying I'm getting a lot done. I think I was putting in subtitles after it, actually cleaning, because it's been that kind of week. Your comments are very welcome. Please feel free to comment on the blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, or you can comment, as more people tend to do, on our group on Ravelry. In the warm thanks department, this one's going to be a little bit strange, I think, and I apologize in advance. First, I want to thank Knitting Hiker and Turbo Gal because they praised my verbal ramblings about my museum wanderings in the long combined episode from last week that covered 2 weeks. I really appreciate that because I really did wonder if I'd gone a little overboard on the museums, but the museums are pretty amazing around here, and the new extension on the underground's really helping. I also want to point out that Turbo Gal is recommending the application iNaturalist for identifying plants. It's free, she says, and the professionals use it. And I think that's a great idea. I'm perfectly happy with Picture This, but I need to go over and check out iNaturalist. I think whatever works for you is great. And this week we have a few moments of farewell. First, and it sounds a little strange, but I want to give a loving farewell to my beloved old man. That is a Shetland sheepdog, Gavin, from my Sunnybank days. It's hard to explain my relationship with Gavin. There's a picture of him in the show notes watching me spin with one of my e-wheels. And I love Gavin. My friend Linda brought him to Sunnybank when her older Sheltie, another service dog, Polly, was dying. And I have known Gavin for that whole trip with Linda, and now Gavin has left us. And so I used to call him the old man. You'll see if you look at him, he's an unusual set of colors for a Sheltie. He's black and white with no brown. And if he turned his head so you could see the other side, it is snow white. And I used to laugh because to me it made him look like an old man. He looked bald. So I want to give a fond farewell to my very dear old man. Thanks, Gavin. You did everything as well as you can. And thanks, Linda, for letting me share his love. And then there was the unexpected one, but I feel like it has to go here in part, and that is I want to thank Jasmine Knitmore, who today posted the very painful, I'm sure, post on her social media about the passing of her mother, the absolutely spectacular and wonderful Gigi Knitmore. I don't know what to say. I was trying to think of what to say. I thought, should I put this off till next week? But I think now that Jasmine has posted about it, I feel a need to say something. Yes, it was Gigi's passing. I did not record that week because I did not feel free to talk about the passing. That really belongs to Jasmine when she's ready. But at the same time, it felt so wrong to just go ahead and podcast like everything was normal that week. And I suspect strongly, at least one of you, possibly two, figured out what was going on. And thank you for your respectful silence. But I want to thank Jasmine for sharing the news with us. Boy, I know that could not have been easy. And I guess what I do want to say here, I want to thank Jasmine. I want to thank Genevieve and Rex and the unbelievably wonderful Andrew and Sam Knitmore. I want to thank them all, but I really want to thank Jasmine for taking the best, most humane, most compassionate, most loving care of my dear friend Gigi that she could possibly have had. I am more grateful than I can tell you for the love and the kindness and the compassion and the warmth and the gentleness and the tenderness and the deep and abiding respect that was consistently given by you to our Gigi. I have taken care of the dying in this life, and I am here to tell you when something like this comes up, there's two groups. There's the people who have done it and the people who have not. And it is a wonderful, agonizing, conflicting, and immeasurably meaningful thing to belong to the club of those who have cared for him. I don't know if I'd wish that on anybody. I have done it. It has changed my life. And my heartfelt prayer for you, my dear friend Jasmine, is that it changes your life with the benefits that were also given to me when I took care of a dying parent. I have nothing but respect and admiration for you, and I think it's very, very hard if you've never done this kind of thing to appreciate what went into this. So I'm just going to say it, and I hope I'm saying it on behalf of the entire podcasting community. Thank you for your wonderful and loving and dedicated and generous and above all kind and devoted service to our beloved Gigi. As for Gigi, I can't say enough words, but I do want to say it here that the Knitmore Girls podcast had an enormous influence on my own podcast. And while I made some decisions in a different direction than they did, I always learned from their choices and always admired the decisions they made. The Knitmore Girls did such a tremendous amount to draw the knitting community together. And I have to say this, I don't have humility, so don't worry, I'm not being humble right now, but if you ask me what was the most influential knitting and sewing and crafting podcast of my time as a podcaster, hands down, it is the Knitmore Girls. And I just want to be one of the many voices, I'm sure, to thank you for an unbelievable service to our community, to the knitters, the spinners, the weavers, the dyers, and also the seamstresses and the quilters for this wonderful contribution. I don't know if you'll be continuing in your enormous generosity. You and Gigi have raised a new generation of Knitmores. But whatever you decide to do up to this point, no one has done it better. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for hundreds of hours of sheer joy and happiness and something to look forward to every week while I did my own crafting, for lessons, for wisdom, for kindness, for inclusivity. Gigi, I will always miss you. Having said that, I want to also thank my listeners as always, and I want to also thank my communities on Finch, on Reddit, on the ground in the Santa Clarita and Antelope Valleys, and of course, most of all, in the people listening to the sound of my voice right now. Wow, I did that. Who the hell knew I was going to get through that? Not bad for extempore age, Emma. Take a drink of tea. Okay. Cognitive Fiber Retreat 12. The information link is right there in the show notes. It is scheduled for November 7th, 2026. Yeah, Jasmine, I'm expecting you with open arms. I have no idea yet where we're going in terms of vendors or anything else, but it's all there in the information thread. Except I don't think I've posted yet. I really am serious, guys. Knitted and crocheted and woven, if you go that way, t-shirts. We're going to have that fashion show. It does not have to be the Bloodroot tee, but I'll sure be curious if any of you do it. I know I have convinced Jasmine and Chris who won't be joining us as far as I know, to do the Bloodroot tees. So there's at least 3 of us out there, people. What's on my hooks and needles? Well, I finished my second Tolsta tee. There is a picture of me. I'm sorry about the spots on the mirror. Boy, I love this pattern. And it's inevitable that I'm going to compare it to the Bloodroot tee pattern. The challenge in both of them is exactly the same. It's getting from the neckline down to the place where you're just knitting in the round. That, in other words, both of them are doing their versions of a short row back of the neck to give it a better shape. On the Tolsta, you absolutely must have it. That if you knitted this without those short rows, I really do think it would lie wrong across the shoulder. Why I think that I can't explain, but I have to tell you, I keep getting a bloody perfect fit out of these things, and it always takes me the full 3 skeins of the Louisa Harding Provence yarn, which is a cotton, linen, and I want to say viscose blend, and feels terrific in the warm weather. I'm using a worsted weight yarn. The pattern is actually for DK weight. I believe she knits it on size 8 needles in DK. I knit it on a size 9 in worsted weight, and you can see it worked just perfectly. The fit's amazing. The Stash Toss, by the way, is 25 skeins in and 46 skeins out. In the meantime, I really got taken over by finishitis this week. Not that I finished that much, but still, I started on the Melt the Ice hat in Sagittarius, is the colorway from Malabrigo Rios. It looks much more black and much less red in that picture. You can see I'm reaching the crown, and I'm really extending the ribbing. I think he says 6 or 7 inches, and he does not fold up the brim. That will never work for me. And I made one following the original instructions, and yeah, I need a lot more length on this puppy. I just love this hat. So there it is. I still did not take it on the train. The Bloodroot tee. Now, I got to thank Jasmine on this one too. I was really giving up. I'm not used to knitting in sock yarn on a sweater. So it goes a lot slower than I expect my sweaters to go. So I was slaving my way through the back, which is the first piece you do, and it takes forever. Then you do the little sides, and they go very quickly. And then you do magic. I mean, you've got to really follow it very, very carefully and closely to extend that knitted flat back part, the raised part of the back neck. And then you do a little more magic and you join it. And I finally got up to the little more magic and I joined it. So now I'm at a phase where I'm knitting in the round, and it's 48 rows. And all you're doing are increases on the sleeves, which are still attached. You haven't separated them in any way. And so I'm working my way down that, and it's a lot easier and a lot more fun. I have to tell you, the part where you're knitting flat, it makes a lot of sense. It's going to really test your ability to follow the pattern literally. Now, one thing that I think deserves to be said: never remove any marker until the designer says remove the marker. I pulled some markers in the very beginning when I got the 2 wings from the top attached. No, leave all the markers. Don't pull anything out. Otherwise, though, it's going pretty well. It's become train knitting, and I'm quite enjoying it. So thank goodness. And, you know, I would have to tell you, when I did the Tolsta the first time, I had a very similar problem. I found it just terrifying to work my way down that back section of the Tolsta doing the short rows. So, you know, if you're going to do a t-shirt style, well, really, if you do any kind of sweater, no matter what the yarn size, no matter what the pattern, sleeves, no sleeves, this is always the question. Do you want the short rows in the back that raise the neckline a little bit for the back? These patterns both do that without asking your permission or giving you other alternatives. Fair enough. Meanwhile, I went through my study, my studio, whatever you want to call it, and in the spirit of let's get some patterns out of here, I did a lot of organizing around my patterns and my stash. And I realized I have one kit left. It's not a Woobles kit, but it's a crocheting kit for Maple the Highland Cow. And this is from Mini Crafts. And Mini Crafts is a Woobles knockoff. They're slightly less expensive. Right now they're about $28 per kit. Woobles now are $30 to $45 per kit unless you get them on sale occasionally at Walmart. So Woobles are more expensive. Okay. If you're going to do the Mini Crafts, these are very cute. And they're often much more cute than their Woobles counterpart. I did the Druid Bear, which is a heck of a lot more cute than the Woobles various bears. But I reviewed it then and I learned a lot. And the Highland Coo's working out the same way. When you order from Mini Crafts, they are not fast on the mailings, let me tell you. The instructions are not as clear. I mean, the written instructions are not as clear as the Wooble counterparts. And the videos are not at all as good as the Woobles videos, which are really amazing. That's the value of the Woobles kits, is that if you have never crocheted or never crocheted an amigurumi round object, those Woobles videos are amazing. Many of the very basic ones are free on the internet, on YouTube. But many of them, you know, you work your way through the pattern, and if you get stuck, you look at the video. Okay, so what's the value of a mini craft kit? They are awfully cute. They have a lot more moving parts. That after you do the basic oval body, they tend to have more add-on parts. Like the cow has horns, flowers, little leaves, ears, curls, a nose. They call them hands and feet, for lack of a better word. That's a lot of stuff to sew on. But you get a really cute product. And the instructions are good enough if you're confident and you've done about 2 or 3 of the Woobles kits. So you use the Woobles to learn the basic skills, and you do the Mini Crafts to get a really cute kit that is not going to teach you how to crochet. Now people do post to the Mini Craft site, I taught my kid to crochet. Good for them. I wouldn't recommend Mini Craft until you're comfortable doing Woobles, particularly the oval shaped Wooble bodies. So some of the bodies, like the dinosaur shape, they're just a little strange. The dragon body, okay, that's not what I'm talking about. Do a few of the oval Woobles, the penguin, the chicken. Do that kind of shape, the black cat. There's a million of them. And from there, you can move on to the Mini Crafts that I've done. So there's a picture of Maple, and there she is on the train where she's just got horns and eyes and a body, looking rather, dare I say, demonic. I have not yet finished her. I'm very close at this point. As I record this, I think I'm up to just the flowers and the leaves. There are mistakes in the pattern. One is, if you look at the pattern, she has a tail. That's not in the instructions. Believe it or not, it's not in the printed or online instructions. I want you to know the tail seems to be a leaf. So there's green leaves on her head by the flowers. If you make one of those in brown, you can sew it on and she's got a tail. Okay. No particular work on my quilting, but I did start mending. Like I said, I had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day weekend. And I got so much done and had so much fun, but I'll get to that. But among other things, I started looking at my mending pile And I just said, okay, from now on, mending. And I sat down and got 2 of the projects done. And I'm so happy about that. And hopefully I have a few more to go. The Stolen Neighbors Quilt Project, they are starting to post in their Instagram and Facebook accounts pictures of the finished blocks they're getting. It's very, very wonderful. I do encourage you to do this. Meanwhile, no particular spinning. So I want to get onto a strategy. And I saw one of my colleagues online this week, and she said, somewhere in her posting, behavior builds identity. I love that, okay? Years ago, I was talking about recovering from trauma. And someone wrote in, I think to my Instagram account, and said, but it just sounds like you're saying, fake it till you make it. And fortunately, one of you wonderful listeners answered her and said, yes, that's exactly what she's saying. You have to go on acting as if you can be okay. Fake it till you make it. I really am grateful to that listener. I'm grateful to both of them. But especially to that second listener who just nailed it, who just said, that's right, that sometimes you are faking it. We have this strange idea that we are supposed to be honest about our feelings, which is good, but at every single moment, in every single setting, we are supposed to do this. No, that's not true. That's not true. There's times it's a really bad idea. Let me tell you my favorite example. When I was a university professor, we had to do oral exams with the grad students. And I learned something so important, and I remembered it in my own life as well. That is, when you did an oral, and the student came in, I was one of the professors on the committee. Student would come in, and you'd say, just matter of courtesy, how you doing today? And some students would just shiver and go, I'm really nervous, but I think I can do that. I'm really, okay. Let me tell you right away, I would see my colleagues' faces change. I would see them get less friendly and more anxious. Okay? And then you had the student who came in and they'd say, well, oh, you guys know you've done this kind of thing. I'm nervous, okay? But I am ready to go and I want to get this done with. I think I'm ready to move forward here. Everybody got behind that second student. And the answer is very simple. Both of them are being honest. They're both nervous. But the first student, by simply being honest and blunt about their emotions, is actually making us, as the superiors in the room, feel responsible for their emotions. That is not a good feeling when you're administering an exam, let me tell you something. And that would turn the committees against them. And you bet I saw this. You bet I saw this happen. And I suddenly realized my first oral exam in America, I did one in Scotland. I don't even remember it. I think I was so traumatized. But my first one in America, I walked in and I was student number 1. Well, I'm nervous, but and the committee was really rotten to me, frankly, but I did pass. My second exam was a much longer one, and it was before I was allowed to write my dissertation. I had to come in and do an oral exam to show that I had mastered the eras about which I was writing. And I walked in, and I literally the weekend before, I had presented at an international congress my original research, and it was resoundingly successful. And I did it in another language. Most of my presentation was in Middle English, which, that takes a certain kind of chutzpah, you know? Anyway, I was reading a lot of quotes from Piers the Plowman in the northern dialect of Middle English. All right. And I wore this suit, and I knew I looked like $1 million in the suit, and I wore it into my oral exam 3 or 4 days later. And I remember walking in and thinking, all right, kids, I'm ready to be one of you. I just presented at an international congress to great applause, had a lot of world-famous people say, right on, that's right, and got an instant publication offer. So you can't tell me I'm going to fail this exam. And I walked in and I took that bull by the horns. And I never really thought about it, except I got a very positive response from my committee, except the guy from the math department, the external, who started criticizing me, at which point one of the English professors turned around and said, why don't you shut up, since you don't know what she's talking about? Really nice feeling. Okay, so I mean, I have lived it, but I did not think about it till I was a professor. And I began to realize what an influence it is. So yeah, your behavior builds identity. If you act like that confident, brave person, I believe you become that. But I also think there are bigger implications. Yes, sometimes you feel like you're faking. You feel like a fraud. Okay, imposter syndrome. Everybody goes through that, where they feel like they're not really as good as they say they're being. And the far extension is, BSing, where you have nothing to back what you're saying. But it's that sweet spot in the middle where you, to quote Shakespeare, screw your courage to the sticking point and go in and act like you deserve respect. And that not only builds your identity, it changes the behaviors of people towards you. And that's really crucial. You will build an identity, but your identity is also your likability, your collegiality, your ability to socialize and get along. And so, yes, your behavior will build your identity. And sometimes you will feel like you're just faking it until you make it. And you know what? Great choice. Shoot, I was walking all weekend. It's really drizzly and cold today, so I did not run. But believe me, I walk 3 or 4 miles a day every day of a 3-day weekend, and I feel great about that. I got a tremendous amount done. You can see my upcoming races. Yes, the Sugar Daddy 5K is looming. In the Fluffy Books, I am currently listening to the Rushworth family plot. This is, I believe, the 5th in a series about the children of the characters of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. That is to say, Darcy and Elizabeth's son, but wait, also the daughter of the 2 leads from Northanger Abbey, their daughter. And the daughter and the son are getting together. The son is somewhat on the spectrum pretty clearly. And they keep meeting at odd Regency moments and solving murders together. This is a fun series. The link is in the show notes, and I'm happy to say there's another one coming out. I think it's June 16th. Yes, I pre-ordered it. I finished the Beatrice Hyde Clare mystery, A Wretched Folly, which I deeply enjoyed. But you have to be into that series, I think. I finished Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter. I didn't like that for probably the first 5 or 6 chapters. And then I kind of unwillingly fell into it. Now I really like it. I really like the author, Heather Fawcett. Everything I've read by her has been wonderful. She's just very original. She takes common ideas and turns them a bit sideways. I like the way the cat rescue gets played into it. Just a lot of fun. I am not currently reading anything. I'm sort of between reads right now. Something I really like, believe it or not, Dead Internet Theory. There's a link to the Wikipedia article on this. Now, Dead Internet Theory. The theory is a little more evil than I would like to go. But it is a good theory, and that is the internet is peopled, if you'll pardon the expression, with robots, phony accounts, everything else. So the Dead Internet Theory is saying you really have to be careful what you're reading and doing on social media, because a lot of it is being manipulated by people who don't have your best interests at heart and by bots. I think this is very important because I think my lifetime has involved the development of the internet. And what really could have and should have been this amazing tool for growth and transformation and just good old communication and information has slowly been warping. And I think AI is the latest manifestation of it. But believe me, it's had its problems long before it. Back in my salad days in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was treating kids, and all of these girls I had as patients were being stalked on the internet, and many of them were posting inappropriate pictures of themselves, thinking it was all innocent and maybe they'd get a boyfriend, etc. Look, ma'am, in every group there's always the stupid, the innocent, the naive. Okie dokie. No matter what you say, they didn't deserve what they were getting. We don't pursue children. They're allowed to be stupid. and ignorant and innocent. Okay, having said that, I think it's probably a good idea to go read that stuff about the dead internet and to think very carefully about what you're posting, what your family is posting. You want to take a good look at it because sadly, it's not working out for the good guys in so many ways. Yes, I love the internet, but the older I get, the more I realize that I am limiting gradually my use of the internet. Okay, there's still links to my bundle of ice resistance patterns, to the people impacted by ice, and to the group of crafters helping Minnesota who will give you their links. Project Back episodes on Proton. Right now we're just waiting. We're at episodes 201 to 250 of this series. I haven't heard from anybody saying, could you repost X? So I haven't. So I really am just waiting until I hit episode 300, God willing, and the creek don't rise, and I will post those series in a compressed form as well. Green fingers. Well, I've been wandering around weeding. I'm spot weeding right now, and just kind of trying to get everything to grow. Our weather has been cold, hot, windy, not windy, raining, not raining. Yeah. Everybody's hanging in. I have not really planted this year. I'm sort of trying to see what is coming up. I had planted the little sages years ago. They did great. Then they didn't come back. After their third year, they haven't come back. And right now, I'm looking at those beautiful autumn sage, or desert sage, or Mexican sage with the red flowers. They look like a winner. The rosemary is a clear winner. So I think at this point, those are going to be what I focus on to try to get some successful growth around the farm. And I'm also thinking I found a type of tree that blooms pink, and I'll see where we go with that. I saved all this in my Picture This app to my garden, so I have a plan. The peppermint's doing okay. It's not taking over, but it's just holding on where it is. It's not spreading a lot. The creeping thyme, same thing. It's kind of staying where it is really nicely, but not growing out. Put a lid on it. Well, the time has come to sun brew or refrigerator brew my iced tea. I have a lot of tea. This is one of the ways I go through old tea bags every summer, and also just bags of herbal tea, so that I have something to drink that's not quite as pricey as the bubbly waters that I'm also hooked on. And so I've given you a link to Plum Deluxe's version of my tools, and they sell a kit, and it has a mason jar and an infuser, that long silver cone that fits inside, and a lid. So you can put tea in the infuser, fill it with water, put that lid on it, and just pour from it when you're ready. I actually have a taller pitcher. I believe it's a liter, and it might be a little more. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, it's got its own infuser. But I also use one of these infusers. I believe in a lot of iced tea, so I'm constantly filling wide-mouth mason jars with water, putting tea infusers in them, putting them in the fridge, screwing a lid on them. You can get lids for the ball jars online. They do sell those as well. You are not restricted to what's in this kit, is what I'm telling you. But the time has come to have cold drinks around the house, and really just take up your old tea bags, and if you use tea bags. I don't, but I still have some around the house, believe it or not. And I just use them up in my summer iced teas, because that means that I'm always using more fresh tea. I have to admit, I do prefer loose leaf tea. Why am I paying somebody for a bag that is not nutritionally good for me, eh? So I prefer loose leaf tea. In the blather, okay. So last Friday, that is the Friday before Memorial Day, I went kind of on a bender about cleaning the house and organizing. And I'm really, really grateful. And so in between patients, I was cleaning the Roombas and sending them around and recharging them and cleaning them and doing it all over again. And I reorganized my studio, my craft room, my study, whatever you want to call it. Now it has a lot more room for cleaning and reorganization, but what I did made me feel great. I found a lot of stuff, including old projects and such, and said, time to get stuff done and out of here to move on to other yarns I want to use and other projects I want to do. So that meant that I pulled out the Highland Cow Kit, the coup, and took that on the train for those moments where you only have a minute or two, as opposed to starting one of the long rows on my Bloodroot tea, which I also took with me on the train. So I got through a great deal of both of them and made great advances. I had started crocheting a t-shirt pullover and stopped because I just couldn't get it right. So I pulled all that out and repurposed the yarn. I also sat down and voted. That is, I worked my way through the sample ballot, reading proposals. Oh, Minerva joins us. And I still have to fill out the actual ballot and drop it in our local drop box. But I am very, very pleased to have that done. And I have to say, in the 4 days since I did this, I have been reaping the benefits. It is very nice to be clean and reorganized. I tossed a lot of junk that just wasn't going to be recyclable and reusable. Generally, my world is a lot more tidy and organized, and I feel like I'm getting stuff done again. Now, we're moving into summer, and in the summer, two things happen. I up the running, which I have not gotten to, but I did a whole lot of walking this weekend. And I also like to do a lot of little projects, and I'm trying to turn that towards finishing projects that don't have a lot left to go, which is most of my projects. At the same time, I'm avoiding having big, heavy woolen sweaters in my lap. So yes, I won't be finishing my latest strange brew in the orange till it cools down again. In the meantime, I gathered all my spare sock yarns and looked at them and said, do I want to do another chicken? And said, no, I'm kind of over the chickens for a while. I want something really quick because it's summer. So I am crocheting yet another Abbas cow, just trying to use up stuff on my desk. And that's nice because I was going through those and some of them, they're just falling apart. And I said, I don't know why that's falling apart, but it's going into the trash and going away. So Friday was excellent. Then there was Saturday where I woke up and having 72 hours off just struck me as paradise. So I did on Saturday and Sunday pretty much the same thing in slightly different order. I wandered around on the buses and the trains. I explored different routes that would get me to some of my favorite places just to experiment. And I went mainly back to the Geffen and the Craft Contemporary Museum. I keep calling it the Craft Museum, but it's Craft Contemporary is its full name. I had a wonderful time. The Craft Contemporary was closed, except for its store, aw darn, because they're redoing their exhibit space, which is fairly small, and it should be open on June 1st. And I'm very pleased about that. But I bought some needful embroidery things in their shop, which I loved. I had to laugh because once again, I got this woman behind the counter. I said, I'm a member. She said, that's okay. You don't need to pull out your membership card. And I said, oh, and she goes, I recognize you. I don't know if she recognized me, but wearing a t-shirt that said, let's get crafty, and what was obviously, I think, a homemade skirt, probably tipped her off. At any rate, I decided to really explore the Geffen, and this was helped by the fact I got to the front desk, and the person checking my membership to give me my free ticket said, oh, you're a member, right? I said, yes. She said, have you gotten the book? The book? They gave me a wonderful free book, and this is not a pamphlet or a paper printed book. This is hardbound on very heavy stock. It is about half the length of a normal folio-sized book, and it has wonderful illustrations in black and white and color of the various things on display in this first iteration of the Geffen. Now the Geffen, LACMA, the LA County Museum of Art, owns the Geffen. I described it as a box last week, but it's actually it's hard to describe the actual shape of it from above. I suggest you look it up because I don't know how to describe it, but it still goes on for the better part of a city block and then does a 45-degree angle roughly, crosses 4 lanes of Wilshire Boulevard, comes down on the other side. It's wonderful. They had wandering docents this weekend. One of them suggested I become one because we started talking about fabric, and after a while she's like, okay, You should consider. I was very jealous because she talked about how they train them. Oh, am I jealous? They had all the curators of the different collections. And she gave a very good talk to me about how they organized it, which frankly I don't understand. But what it came out as in my head was, look, we have a lot of collections, sub-collections, a lot of materials. This is the opening. We wanted to show respect to all the collections. So it is not a timeline type of organization. It is collection by collection, just some of the curators' highlights. And the curators had to negotiate all this, and it took a while. That's kind of what I took away from it. In the show notes, I also have a picture. I crossed Wilshire on the bridge that is the Geffen. I walked across in the Geffen Gallery because I have to tell you that light, they talk about the light, which I hadn't known before when I mentioned it. There are signs in their book on the wall about their specialized use of the available daylight, which is wonderful because that is what is so remarkable. It's that structure and the way everything is lighted. And it was cloudy for part of the days that I was there, and it just is a different way to see everything. Does not impede your ability to see the collections, believe me. But I took a picture, it's the top of the show notes, on the bridge looking out at Wilshire Boulevard, looking straight down the center. And yes, that whole area that you're seeing, 4 lanes and a big median and 2 sides with concrete pavements, that's all covered by the building that is the Geffen. That when it crosses Wilshire, it crosses all of that. And so, of course, I couldn't resist that picture of the symmetry. And yes, everybody was taking the same picture. But I also included pictures. You can't take pictures of the Geffen. You can, but trying to get the spirit of it is just impossible. So I did take a picture of that lovely sculpture that is half wooden rocking horse and half dinosaur that I keep talking about with all the local flora on it in bloom. There is a picture of one side of it, the dinosaur side, from that bridge. And there's a picture of my book that they gave me for free, Wander, which is such a gift. My husband and I are kind of, in a good-natured way, arguing over it. I also took a picture of the Japanese gallery, which is just the strangest building. They're rendering a Japanese building, I think, in concrete. It's very odd to look at, but it is very beautiful. That's not open yet. I'm looking forward to that. And of course, because we must honor the spirit of the podcast, one of my favorite paintings from the, I've got to say this carefully, Indigenismo collection. That is indigenous people of Mexico and Central and South America. And I love that. I just love that painting because, first of all, she's spinning. If you pay attention, she's got a bottom whirl spindle. You probably can't see it well, but if you look at it closely, you can see that the fiber is pulling into it from the complete opposite end of the whirl. But she's got the whirl, she's got the spindle tilted so the whirl is facing up. And if you look at the painting, there's so many ventures in woven and spun and wool and fur and cotton and lace, all in whites. It is just a masterwork of texture in white. It's a fantastic painting, but of course, it's also an homage to hand spinning, so there we go. On Monday, I settled down to some mending. I did some minor cleaning projects around the house, worked more on the voting, and then just took the train. Frankly, I didn't go below the Santa Clarita Valley. I just went into Newhall and just got out to wander and walked about 3 miles, I figure. Just had a really good time. It was breezy and cool, and at alternate times I was cold and then warm in my long sleeve sweatshirt. And I just had a great time. The upshot is those 3 days were really, really wonderful for me, just to get out and to walk and walk and walk and walk and museum and museum and museum and to feel intelligent and welcome and, I don't know, just artsy. And to feel like I was getting stuff done at the same time. Okay, after that, you can see my usual links for the LGBTQIA+ lifelines, community resources, information about ICE, my upcoming calendar, and we get down to Minerva gets the last word. Her last word is gimme. I couldn't resist that photo. I accidentally brought her bag of treats into the study one day. I don't remember why I did it. Well, what I didn't realize was I created a monster. I put it on that basket on the desk at the right of the desk. And then she kept coming on the desk and begging. And her version of begging is I get on the desk and I knock everything off. This had a lot to do with me clearing off the desk. And so she is sitting there staring at the bag of treats where I moved it because she kept knocking things off the desk. I tried putting it on the little tea table I have in a corner. No, she knew it was there. She just still got on the desk. So then I put it below the desk. And she sat there and you can see her problem solving. How am I going to get to that bag of treats? The short answer is I took it out of there completely. And she has been very confused ever since. However, she would say, gimme, and I realized she was still saying it, even though I removed the treats. That's where I realized if you look at the basket on the right, on the desktop, the very, very edge of the frame, the right edge, you will see a little triangle of pink. That's her brush. She loves to be brushed. So I have created a monster. Minerva is hanging around in here, knocking things off my desk, saying, gimme, 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 gimme a brushing. Give me some treats. Gimme, 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 gimme. Now, here comes the hook, guys. Everybody ready? She is doing this because she understands that we are in a community and we have rules in the community. And I foolishly broke them when I moved that treats bag and that brush to the wrong places. And once you disrupt the community, those of us with a little less self-control turn into brats, don't we? Do with that what you will. Having said that, we are a community, and when we work for the good of the community, and that includes reasonable rules and limits, we are working for the good of the individual. Having said all that, everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.